Have you ever wondered why, in the middle of your busy day, you suddenly feel a gentle pull in your heart? A whisper that says, "Slow down, breathe, I am with you"? Many people think God speaks only through thunder, miracles, or dramatic signs, but Scripture shows us that His voice is often soft, quiet, and deeply personal. God is always speaking. The real challenge is learning how to listen. From the beginning of creation, God's voice brought life, order, and purpose. With just a word, He created the heavens, separated the seas, and formed humanity. But He didn't stop speaking after creation. God has always desired a relationship with His people, a relationship built on love, trust, and communication. He speaks not to control us, but to guide, comfort, warn, encourage, and draw us closer to Himself. Sometimes God's voice comes through His Word. Every verse in the Bible carries His heart, His wisdom, and His promises. When you read Scripture and a certain line suddenly feels alive, as if it was written just for you, that is God speaking. His Word is not outdated ink on ancient pages. It is living and active, full of direction for your present struggles, decisions, and dreams. Other times, God's voice is heard in prayer, not always through audible words, but through a quiet assurance, a gentle nudge, a sudden peace, or a conviction that leads you back to truth. Prayer is not just talking to God. It is also listening. When you quiet your heart and give Him room to speak, He reveals things you would have never known on your own. God also speaks through circumstances, open doors, closed doors, delays, unexpected blessings, moments of discomfort. All these can be messages that point you toward His will. When something doesn't go your way, it might not be rejection. It may be God redirecting you. When something works out effortlessly, it may be God opening the right path. His voice often shows up, not in what we expected, but in what we needed. He also speaks through people, a sermon, a friend's encouragement, a stranger's kindness, or even a correction from someone who cares about you. God can use anyone to send a message, because His voice is not limited to one method. But you'll know it's Him when the message leads to peace, truth, and spiritual clarity. Perhaps the most beautiful way God speaks is through a gentle whisper in our hearts. Elijah experienced this on the mountain. God was not in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire. He came in a still, small voice. That is how God often speaks today. Not by shouting, not by forcing, but by softly calling your name, reminding you that you belong to Him. But hearing God's voice requires something from us: stillness. We live in a world filled with noise, notifications, distractions, stress, fear, and constant activity. These voices compete with God's, making it harder to hear Him clearly. But when you slow down, even for a moment, His voice becomes unmistakably real. The more time you spend with Him, the more you recognize the sound of His guidance. God's voice is not a voice of confusion. It brings peace. It does not condemn. It restores. It does not push you into fear. It leads you into trust. When God speaks, He aligns your heart with His will, your mind with His truth, and your steps with His purpose. And even when you feel far from God, His voice still calls. He never stops speaking. He never stops reaching. Sometimes His silence feels heavy, but even in silence, He is working. Sometimes the waiting season is when His voice becomes the clearest. Not because He is louder, but because you are listening differently. If you are seeking direction today, ask Him. If you feel lost, call out to Him. If life feels confusing, lean in closer. God is not hiding His voice from you. He is drawing you nearer. He speaks through His Word, through peace, through your spirit, through circumstances, and through His unchanging love. Take a moment today to say, "Lord, I'm listening." And you will discover that God's voice has been calling your name all along, guiding you, protecting you, and leading you into the life He beautifully designed for you.